Biden has said he's outraged and heartbroken by the deaths of 7 international aid workers in Gaza. They were killed in an Israeli airstrike. Now, in a highly critical statement, the president said Israel was not doing enough to protect civilians. 3 British men, John Chapman, James...
Do you see yourself as brown, just curious? It's such a funny, just curious, Andy question. No, I've said I'm fucking white like a million times, okay? Now, the way I'm perceived, well, that's a different story. I grew up in Turkey, where I was considered a part of the in-group, okay? White. Whiteness is just a proximity to power in that regard. I am, for the most part, in many places, until people find out what my name is or what my background is, perceived as white. Depending on the level of racism that someone is operating on, it changes.
Henderson and James Kirby were among those killed when a convoy carrying staff from World Central Kitchen was hit on Monday. The charity released pictures of the aid workers overnight. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the strike was unintended and vowed to investigate. Our reporter Graham Satchell has more.
The pictures tell their own devastating story. The team from the charity World Central Kitchen was...
Yeah, this is a great headline that shows everything. Angry, in air quotes, Biden not changing Israel policy after deadly strike on aid workers. Biden was privately enraged and publicly reprimanded Israel for the deadly strike on aid workers in Gaza. But that's as far as he'll go for now, said 2 senior officials. Any day now, dude, he's going to wag that finger so hard at Israel. Any day now. Any day now, dude. He's so mad. Oh, no. He's going to unleash the anger, dude.
Traveling in a convoy of 3 cars. You can clearly see their logo. Each car was hit in what looks like a precision targeted attack. The charity has now paid...
You mentioned it already, but you called this happening when they mentioned building the port. The only thing that was wrong is it wasn't U.S. military being struck, but close enough. And at this rate anyway. Yeah, it was British former military people that were killed. And that's why a lot of the British are angry now. And, of course, this outrage is reserved for, you know, white people. Like 35,000 fucking Palestinians mercilessly executed by Israel over the course of the past 6 months. You know, and even here, for the record, let me tell you, even here, you see, if like Israel could execute like 10 American citizens, not American citizens with Palestinian passports either, by the way, just like straight pure-blooded Americans, you know, the white Americans, as they have in the past, Rachel Corrie being a very famous example of this. The Brandon administration is not going to do shit, okay? They won't. They're not going to do shit. Because ain't nobody cares about the lives of civilians, the lives of citizens. It does not fucking matter. Israel is infinitely more important to American interests in the region as this belligerent, violent pit bull attack dog than anything else. It literally does not matter. John Fetterman blamed their deaths on Hamas, saying they were being used as human shields. Yeah, here, it doesn't matter. It didn't matter back then, and it still doesn't matter. Reminds me of this, when Israel struck a Red Cross ambulance in Lebanon in 2006, right on the logo. I already saw comments saying they deserve dying for being in a war zone. Yep. Yep. Anyway.
A tribute to the 7 workers who lost their lives, including 3 British nationals. 57-year-old John Chapman, who's believed to have served in the Royal Marines, was working for the charity as a security advisor. James Henderson, who was 33, is also understood to have served in the Marines. James Kirby was 47 and another armed forces veteran. All three men were trying to protect their colleagues. The charity described them as heroes. These 7 beautiful souls were killed by the Israel Defense Forces. Their smiles, laughter and voices are forever embedded in our memories.
Do you buy Mersheimer's point that it's not so much Americans' interest that protects Israel, but the lobby? What? The Israeli lobby is like created to align America's interests. I mean, to align Israel's existence as a violent, a violent nation state that is specifically there to dismantle any kind of organizing, to specifically destabilize the region. And the lobby communicates that interest perfectly to American politicians and maintains that interest. I am not a believer that like lobbying in and of itself is the end all be all of politics. I don't think that lobbying is what actually moves the needle on a lot of issues. Lobbying is there for moments that matter the most, moments of moral clarity, moments where people are actually demanding change. That's when lobbying comes into play. The same principle behind the NRA. Lobbying is important for moments like this. Okay? For moments like this one, when there's a lot of public pressure, when the cruelty is out of control, and politicians are being urged, demanded, people are making demands out of their politicians to go, what the fuck are you doing? Stop this shit. That's when lobbying works. That's when lobbying matters. That's when you bully politicians into concessions. Not that they give a shit. They don't need too much. D-Man makes it seem like lobbying is meaningless. No, lobbying is not meaningless. It's very meaningful because those big moments are where changes have to occur. And it does in other countries. Of course, if it was completely meaningless, there wouldn't be billions of dollars being dumped into it. That's ridiculous. It's very meaningful, as a matter of fact.
We are reeling from our loss, the world's loss. World Central Kitchen was providing vital food aid in Gaza, supplying millions of meals. The consequences of the attack will be felt here first. The charity has paused its operations, putting immediate stress on an already desperate situation.
That's going to put civilians at risk, at greater risk of famine. People are already starving to death. And what we really need now is for aid to get in quickly and to be able to be distributed safely.
The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the attack was tragic and then said this happens in war. Overnight, the head of the Israeli army was far more conciliatory.
We are sorry for the unintentional harm.
Yeah, sorry. We were doing genocide and we thought they were brown in the darkness of the night. We thought they were more terror babies. Oopsie. Why? It is unintentional. We thought the world thought it was okay when we kill Palestinians and do genocide in the killing fields. So it's a big oopsie when we do more of the thing that you keep urging us to do. That's it. That's literally it. That's the whole point. It's just like, I'm sorry, we've fucking murdered 35,000 people so far. We did a little bit of extra murder thinking that they were also brown, that you wouldn't give a shit. And oops, turns out, you do give a shit. So my bad. That's it. That's literally the whole point here. It's just like, they've killed so many fucking people, dude. They've killed so many people.
To the members of WCK. We share in the grief of their families as well as the entire World Central Kitchen organization from the bottom of our hearts.
Despite that apology, there has been global condemnation. America described the attack as an outrage. Britain said the deaths were completely unacceptable. Australia has demanded accountability. In Jerusalem, more protests on the street as Israelis demand the safe return of their hostages. Pressure is growing at home and abroad, but so far the Israeli government has been impervious to calls for a ceasefire and is determined to continue its fight against Hamas. Graham Satchell, BBC News.
Well, Tess Ingram is a UNICEF spokeswoman and is temporarily based in Gaza.
It's appalling that these brave colleagues, while just trying to help people in Gaza, have been killed. So it certainly have had an impact here on all of us in the Gaza Strip who are still reeling from the news of losing these colleagues. In terms of operations, World Central Kitchen plays such a pivotal role in providing food to the people of Gaza. They'd already provided millions of meals over the last few months. So them taking this very understandable pause will certainly have an impact on the people of Gaza who are already on the brink of famine, and just we cannot afford to not continue to push forward and provide them with the food that they so desperately need.
Well, let's speak to our Middle East correspondent in Jerusalem, Yolande Nell. Yolande, it's good to have you. What more do we know around the circumstances of the strike at this point?
I'm disgusted the death of white people is what could potentially change things for my beloved Palestine. Why are you disgusted? It doesn't matter. The entire reason why white people go there is so that when they do die, things do change. That's the very dark reality. This is what Doctors Without Borders is literally designed to do. This is what humanitarian aid, specifically from Western nations, is designed to do. That's it. That's literally it. Because people don't give a fuck when you kill 35,000 Palestinians. But when you kill white people, other white people go, whoa, 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 what the fuck's going on here? What do you mean? Not like that. You can't do that. That's it. That's the whole point. Not that Israel gives a shit. Let's be real. But yeah, this is the same principle in every fucking active conflict. All the normies who don't pay attention can be affected by the WCK strike. I hope y'all's audience pushes the story to their families. Yeah. I think their disgust is from it having to come to that point at all. I mean, yeah, literally using our privilege for good, fundamental intersectionality. Yeah, this is something that happened throughout every civil rights movement, throughout every active conflict. It's the same principle behind white allies to the Black Panther Party. Someone in the chat was talking about how white students would go and participate in sit-ins for black students in the South. That's it. That's the whole point. Yeah.
I mean, the Israeli military says it's still investigating, but we've had the chief of staff coming out saying that this was a mistake that followed a misidentification at night. He said during a war in very complex conditions. The Israeli.
Yeah, dude. So we misidentified it so hard, dude. Sorry, my bad. I mean, think about what that means. Think about what that means. They're literally so used to just killing civilians and aid workers in general that they mistook them for, brown civilians and aid workers. It is the exact same principle behind Israel murking 3 Israeli hostages that were speaking Hebrew and had white flags that they were waving. Okay? They shot and killed them. Why did they do that? Because they thought they were Palestinian civilians. They didn't think that those guys were they didn't think that those guys were enemy combatants at all. Okay? That's it.
Prime Minister previously said this does happen in wartime. But you have, at the same time, some Israeli media reports looking more deeply into what went wrong here. And one in Haaretz this morning is quoting unnamed army sources as basically saying that this is also a result of poor discipline as a result of soldiers and officers who are not following rules and orders properly.
Even if Israel lost support of the Western nations, do you really think they'd stop, though? Well, they'd be forced to stop. One, losing Western support means no more fucking steady flow of weapons coming in. America, literally still to this day, as we talked about over the weekend, like, is looking for an $18 billion lethal aid package, which includes F-15 fighter jets and precision-guided munitions and new bombs that they're sending to Israel. Okay? You're going to run out of fucking ammo if the Western world is not giving you a steady flow of weapons. Okay? You're going to run out of ammo. That's one. Number two, without Western support, they don't have political cover. Losing Western support would cause them to buckle, because that means that opens up the world to sanctions. That opens up the world to actual BDS initiatives working like it did in South Africa, in the South African apartheid. That opens up a whole new realm of possibilities. Okay? Then Russia starts selling you weapons. Fuck, dude. Russia allows Israel to do whatever the fuck it wants and turns a blind eye to Israel's actions. But it doesn't matter. Russia's got its own fucking issues right now to deal with in Ukraine. I don't think Russia would sell them extra weapons at a time when, like, the Western world dropped their support, even though Russia is a major dick rider of Israel as well. Do not misunderstand me. Okay? Yes, it's called lethal aid. That's what it's called. I use the term specifically because it's called lethal aid package. So, anyway, my point is, losing Western support is something that Israel obviously fears, despite the fact that they keep trying to say, like, we're an independent nation, we can thrive without Western support. It's bullshit. You can't. Okay? They know that. If they didn't think that Western support was so important, Benjamin Netanyahu wouldn't be doing fucking American interviews on Fox News every goddamn week. Benjamin Netanyahu, since October 7th, has appeared on Western news 100 times more than he's appeared on Israeli news. Think about why that is. Think about why Israel has so many perfectly British accented people speaking on British TV. Perfectly American accented people. Well, I guess not as much. The Scottish guy, John Kunkrius or whatever the fuck, doesn't really have an American accent. But, like, Israel has so many people that are there specifically to contextualize the violent actions that they're engaging in real time on American news. Why do they have to do that? Why? Why do they have so many fucking ad campaigns to be like, if you don't support this genocide, you're anti-Semitic. Anti-Semitism is rising in the country. Because they know how important it is. Because they know how important Western support is. And it's, you know, because without it, they're fucking cooked. They don't have a steady resupply of weapons. And on top of that, if they lose support, that opens up new avenues of pressure. With the maximum amount of pressure being boots on the ground military invasion. Okay? Obviously, that's not going to happen. It'll never get there. I'm just saying that, this is the logical conclusion. Going from America dropping support, America limiting the amount of weapons that they're sending to, like, completely stopping all of the weapons transfers, all the way to America issuing sanctions, and then a UN peacekeeping force invading Israel. Obviously, these are, increasingly less likely, kind of like the Richter scale. It is also exponentially less likely to happen, but that's how it works.
In the field.
And Yolande, what has been the reaction so far from allies, especially ones who've had nationals killed in the strike?
I mean, there's been...
I think Russia might turn their guns on Israel soon, since Russia was protecting a consulate of Iran embassy in Syria that got bombed by Iraq. Wait, what? No. Anytime Israel bombs Syria and Syrian targets, they're doing that with the go-ahead of Russia. Okay? That's not a thing. Russia is a major dick rider of Israel. I don't think... A lot of people always hear this and go, wow, look, see? These fucking based anti-American leaders are actually anti-imperialist, even if they're doing their own little imperialism on the side. They're so based and so red-pilled and definitely anti-Israel. It's like, no, they're not. They literally are not. Russia is the major ally of Syria and Iran. What the fuck? You are delusional if you think that Russia doesn't give Israel the go-ahead to bomb targets in Syria. This is a conditional allegiance. It is not off base to say, it's not off base to state this reality. This is like thinking Turkey, because of what Recep Tayyip Erdogan is saying about Israel, is going to invade Israel or some shit. Okay? What? Maybe use contraception? What is this guy saying? Is China better? I really don't know. I know they buy tech from them, but yeah, I mean, their allegiance to Israel still exists. It's just not as like one-to-one like America. That's it. Yeah. This is like believing that Biden is actually upset with Israel. Yes. Israel nonstop shitting on Russia on TV. What the fuck? You talk? This is all that is. It's theatrics. You guys are literally not seeing the actual actions. Okay? I'm sorry. It's all performative. That's all this is. Biden claims he's angry at Israel too all the time. Biden had a mic, a hot mic moment where he said, yeah, Netanyahu's going to have a come to Jesus moment. Has he come to Jesus? Recep Tayyip Erdogan, our watermelon salesman, okay, has been talking about how he thinks Satan Yahoo is going to get the smoke since, like, the middle of October when he changed course. If Turkey wanted to, they could shut off, like, they could completely cripple the energy infrastructure of Israel. The Turkish government single-handedly, Recep Tayyip Erdogan single-handedly could destroy the Israeli energy infrastructure. Shut it off. $30 to 40% of all energy comes into Israel through from Azerbaijan through Turkish pipelines. Recep Tayyip Erdogan also his son has a logistics company, and his son is literally personally shipping shit into Israel. So who gives a fuck what he says on TV? So for you, it's either invasion, an embargo, or their pro-Israel diplomacy means nothing. It's just basic geopolitics. Israel's a good trade partner too, but they've gone too far. Oh my God. No, dude. My anger in this circumstance is you genuinely thinking that, like, Russia actually is anti-Israel in a meaningful capacity. It's akin to thinking Turkey is anti-Israel in a meaningful capacity. It is not the same. It is not the case. This is what I'm trying to explain to you. Yes, if you think that an actual genocide is happening, as I do, okay, and you want to force Israel to stop conducting its genocidal campaign, as these guys are saying, okay, then you would do something about it. Look at Yemen. They're doing something about it with their limited means. That's it. South Africa is doing something about it. It's crazy to think that, like, it's crazy to think that Russia's doing anything beyond just simple words and votes in the Security Council. Same with China. These countries have a shit ton of power. They do. They have a lot of influence. You only hear from countries that are not either. There are countries that are either in the periphery or completely outside of the scope of American empire that actually do back their statements with actions. Okay? Iran being one of them. It's kind of the whole reason why they're public enemy number one to begin with.
Huge international criticism of both how Israel is conducting this war, but also really this has put a spotlight on the situation for aid workers and the very, very difficult conditions and dangerous conditions that they have been working under. And I think there is now going to be a kind of real effort to try to get Israel to put new mechanisms in place that will make it safer for aid workers to get back to work properly in Gaza and to be able to do what they have to do to distribute.
Yes, I don't think these chatters get that if Biden was actually angry and willing to stop sending weapons and military support, Hezbollah becomes a huge problem for Israel very quickly. If this anger actually existed, it could genuinely be leveraged, but it's all performative bullshit. Thank you. Exactly. People literally are like, oh, dude, you don't understand. It's called diplomacy. Okay. Let me ask you this. As an American citizen, why the fuck are you doing like, this is how real politics works, sweetie, for fucking Russia? Like, your analysis is sound. I'm sure you would never let that fly for Biden unless you're like a neoliberal globe account, dick riding fucking Israel, right? Those guys are always saying, well, Biden is doing everything he can. So why are you saying that's exactly what fucking Russia is doing? Are you a globe account for Russia? Like, what the fuck's happening? It's not performative, but what do you want to do? Invade Israel and get nuked? Oh my God. Motherfuckers are out here being Brianna Wu, but for the Russian political position. Yes. Israel is more powerful than the U.S. Israeli ambassador to Poland is being interviewed live about WCK workers attacking on YouTube right now. It's crazy. After almost 2 hours, he's still failing to admit IDF fault. Most of the Polish people are obviously shocked and mad. So he says we react like that because we're all anti-Semites. Yeah, it's anti-Semitic to say it's fucked up to kill aid workers deliberately. Yeah. Anyway, Rube here. Is there a risk of Russia taking America's place? Should we press them taking away funds? What? What do you think the red line is for Biden regarding U.S. support for Israel? There is no red line. He literally said that. Anyway, we should invade Israel and get nuked. It's not going to, it doesn't have to lead to Israel being invaded, okay? When people are comfortable, when people are in a developed nation, they're weaker. They're weaker politically. When you have like a democratic process, you're technically weaker. People have a comfortable mode of existence that they want to continue. So when their treats are taken away, like in America, for example, your treats are taken away even marginally, you lose your fucking mind. Okay? It becomes a massive political problem. Israel is a developed nation. This is a major weakness that could be leveraged against, that could be exploited. As a developed nation, if you cut off the fucking teat in steady weapon supplies to Israel, for example, all of a sudden they have a much different calculation to make. How much more can we do? And then beyond that, if we also put sanctions on Israel, holy moly. Now, I've talked about sanctions not exactly working very well, being overall cruel. It's cruel because it's collective punishment. Sanctions, however, do work on allies. They're never used on allies, but they do work on allies. Last time it was used on an ally was South Africa. Sanctions don't work against foreign adversaries because foreign adversaries already position themselves against sanctions, knowing full well that they might come down the line. Sanctions, on the other hand, or even the threat of sanctions against Israel would be genuinely impactful. Did you say cruel or cool? I said cruel.
Much needed aid across the Gaza Strip.
All right, Yolande, thanks so much for that update. And if you want to learn more about the aid workers who were killed in that strike, there is more on our website and our app.